Forget to welcome again, everybody, to the How to Raise Money for Real Estate webinar. I'm your host, Julie Hoffman. I'm glad I remembered to record. Great. Everybody is trying to help me communicate, and I super appreciate that. This is a digital event for the Okanagan Real Estate Investment Group. For those of you who aren't aware of this awesome group, we have monthly events, live events in Kelowna, and we're actually expanding more digitally. Okay, so stay tuned for more information on that. But let's dive right into things, shall we? Actually, I began a story, I didn't finish it. So I sent my daughter off to college. Monica, she is playing volleyball for the Capilano University Blues. It's super exciting. We all work together as a team for many, many years, taking her to club, taking her to practice, traveling and all of those kinds of things. And she was a straight A student throughout and valedictorian. So pretty proud of this young lady. I'm proud of all my kids, of course. This is a very, very exciting time. So I just want to give a little shout out to my daughter and to anybody else who's experiencing just kind of some transitions as we head into the fall. All right, let's start out with just a story. I've been investing in real estate forever. Most of you probably know that, but since 2001, we started buying houses, mostly in the Edmonton area. We ran out of our own money, which actually wasn't technically our own money because we got a line of credit on our house in order to put down payments on houses, and that worked out well. We still ran out of money and wanted to keep buying property, so I took a sales course. It's called Sandler Sales, and it helped me to learn how to raise money. So raised a bunch of money, bought a bunch of houses, expanded into apartment buildings, grew to a multi-million-dollar empire, and lost it all in the recession. Starting in about 2008, we fought a hard 4-year battle and lost. So we went through some bust times, and I actually took sales training again, actually going through that rough patch. Then I turned to network marketing, and you folks, maybe some of you are very successful at it, and hey, God bless you. I was not good at network marketing at all. As a matter of fact, I took training. It was basically sales training, especially geared toward network marketers. And this was my coach. His name is Mark Januszewski, and he's a brilliant man. He's still one of my coaches. I call it drinking the Kool-Aid of network marketing because it doesn't matter. I drank the Kool-Aid and I failed at it. So that was that. Mark, at one point, I'd made 3,000 phone calls. I've been trying to win at this thing. And he looked at me and he's like, your results are abysmal. I think you really need to head back to real estate because I think that's where your brilliance is. And, whether or not that was true, it's definitely a passion of mine. And it's definitely given me a life that I'm very, very happy to have with a tremendous amount of freedom. So I'm very grateful for that. I talked about my daughter. There were always two of us at every tournament if we could be. The only reason there wouldn't be two of us is if one of our other children had another tournament. You can't put a price tag on the freedom that real estate investing can give you. So tonight, maybe you're in our shoes when we started raising money, needing to raise money. And from all of that, I've raised close to $100 million in public and private money. And I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've corrected and continued. And I like to think I'm pretty close to something that works for darn near anybody. So what I'm going to be going over tonight is identifying your avatar, meaning find the kind of property you're going to focus on. Create a presentation. Have that ready. You want to be ready. Then you want to practice and prospect. That has been the highest winning formula for myself and for folks that I've worked with. So identifying your avatar. Why are we doing this? How are you going to raise money if you don't know what it is that you want? How can you, or even if you're starting out in real estate, you really want to dial in what to focus on to determine whether or not it's even going to work. And you're going to need to know, of course, a budget. And of course, you're going to need to know how much money you need to raise if you're going to do a particular deal. So you really, really need to dial into what you want. These strategies work really, really well. It will help you identify how much money you need to do a deal by creating an avatar. And this can happen to all of us because there is just so much information out there. You can get distracted. So you really want to do the best that you can to focus. Identify an avatar, identify a type of property in a certain city, focus on that, get good at that. And I can almost guarantee you, if you practice focusing, even if you decide, hey, I'm running into a wall, single family homes, I don't know, it's just not working out, the numbers aren't working for whatever. If you're able to focus on one type of property, then you're going to be able to more easily focus on another type. But you really want to focus and, run it for as long as you can. Kind of like me, I tried very hard at network marketing and I failed. So sometimes you'll try a strategy and it just won't be working for whatever reason. It's okay to reset the sails, but you do want to be focused for the most part. So I want to show you something that will help you with your math. So what I have to do is I've got to pause the screen. This is called the Street Smart Analyzer. I use it all the time. I invented it like, golly, I think like 8 years ago. And it is a pre-populated Microsoft Excel sheet that will do your math for you. I use it mostly to kind of do a quick glance at properties if I'm thinking of looking at them more closely. Everybody that I work with uses this tool as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you it. And we are going to, and hopefully you'll get an idea of what it looks like. Now, everybody's going to be able to get a copy of this. That's not it. It's right here. Can I get just a comment in the Q&A or a hand raise that you can see a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet? Excellent. Thank you so much. So this is an example, and actually Veronica gave me this awesome testimonial on how well it works. So thank you for that. I really haven't had anybody not do well with it. So again, this is the deal analyzer. I also call it the Street Smart Analyzer. You can put your purchase price in there, $400,000. Let's say you're buying something in Edmonton, and what it'll do is it'll help do all of your math. So what you want to do is make sure you know your math, or what you even want to start with. So you need to know what kind of rate you think you can get these days. A great place to find out how to get a good rate is Rate Spy. That's typically where I go to look to see what today's rates are. You want to know what current rents are. So let's say we have a house that's about this, and we bring in around that for it. So yeah, and that's about what it does. So you want to make sure you know your rent rates, and a great place to figure out your rent rates is go to rentfaster.ca or rentfaster.com. I forget if it's CA or .com. You'll find it. And it's a great resource on how to find market rents. The other thing you can do is talk to property managers, or other real estate investors, realtors. You can go on Marketplace, on Facebook, Kijiji, Castanet. There are lots of different ways, or CMHC always has annual reports. So there are lots of different ways for you to determine what a fair rental rate is going to be. Appreciation is a tricky tricky number to use, because you can't plan on appreciation, although it can, and of course it does happen. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to go too far into this calculator, but it will help you if you analyze every property that you look at, and you can look at 100 properties a day thanks to online and the MLS being online. Before too long, you will be an expert at the numbers, and that is really, really important because, again, you need to know if something is going to work. So all of you are going to get a copy of the Street Smart Analyzer and the exact tutorial on how to use it along with a workbook. So let's head back to the presentation so I stay on track. All right, here we go back. Can I get a, oh, okay, good. Can I, are we back on the slideshow? It should, oh no, well, I'll just move forward. Okay, there we are. Do we see the slideshow? Can somebody raise their hand? Okay, good. We see the slideshow. So this slide should say team. All right. So when you're creating your avatar, you want to be able to answer, okay, why this property? Not just the numbers, but who's the team involved? Your lawyers, your mortgage brokers, your realtors, your property managers, maybe your real estate investment coach. You know, definitely anybody that works with me has me on their team. You want to identify the area where you want to be investing, the type of home, whether it's townhouse, condo, single family home, fourplex, sixplex. You want to know the city and why. Like, why is this a good place to be investing in real estate? So I'll give an example. You know, 10 years ago, Detroit, Michigan was a dump and everything was on fire and they couldn't give property away. Well, before too long, because everything was so basically affordable, people started buying investment properties and gentrification started happening and more businesses kept coming in. And now Detroit is a great place to live because it has a lot of those economic fundamentals back. So you really want to understand, you know, why you want to invest in this area is because this is about raising money and you want to be able to explain that to somebody that's going to be a potential partner. Okay. We already talked about researching areas and rents from what I talked about before, rentfaster.ca. That's my favorite one. So you want to analyze these properties as if they're going to be a long-term hold, even if you're planning on it being a flip or a lease option or some other kind of strategy. If you always have it analyzed as a long-term hold, then that's your ultimate backup plan. All right, because sometimes you can renovate a whole house, want to sell it as a flip, and guess what? The market loses steam and you can't sell it. So you got to use that backup plan. So you really, really want to know your background numbers. Again, your team, areas, are there schools nearby? Are there parks? Would you live there? I remember one time we went to look at a house and the people just did not want to show me the backyard. And before too long, I'm like, yeah, well, I just got to see the rest of the yard. And finally, they very reluctantly opened the backyard. I could hear this buzzing sound and I look up and there's overhead power lines. And, you know, if you live near power lines, I don't mean to insult you, but I personally don't want to live there. And so like, if I won't live in a place, then I typically don't buy a place because not only because just makes me feel better energetically, but how are you going to sell buying a property with a joint venture partner if you yourself don't feel that good about it? Okay, so you want to think about, again, type. Are you looking for acreages? What specific type of property you want to hone in on that? We already talked about cities. You know, you want to be looking for a place that is pro-growth. I live in Kelowna, British Columbia. Within the last year, they changed the Airbnb laws and they made it super restricted. And it has had an impact on tourism. And tourism is a major component of where I live. Now, fortunately, we have a pretty balanced economy. We have, like hospitals and schools and university growth and construction and all kinds of like tech. So fortunately, Kelowna doesn't depend on tourism, but it definitely did impact the economy. So again, I've already kind of been redundant with researching areas. Oh, and another great place to find out market rents is, I said, talk to other real estate investors. Some of these Facebook groups have such strong memberships. You can go in there and say, hey, what can I get for rent? For a single family home in the Grosvenor area of Edmonton. You probably got 2 or 3 people that'll be able to help you out with that or send you in the right direction. All right, next, after you have figured out what you want to invest in, what you want to focus on, and you consider yourself, okay, I am dialed into the rents. I know what the numbers are going to look like. I know what I need for a down payment. I know what I need for my legal fees. I know what I need for my land transfer tax costs. By the way, land transfer tax is huge in BC. There isn't any such thing in Alberta. We have land transfer tax in Ontario. I think there's LTT in Manitoba. I can't remember about Saskatchewan, but anyway, that's something definitely to pay attention to in your upfront costs. So now that you have identified what you want, you have your avatar, what you want to do is build your presentation. Because if you meet somebody and they're perfect, and you've done your math and you already know, oh my gosh, this person would be perfect, and you don't have a presentation ready and you have to go scramble to get that presentation ready, that's going to be frustrating. Now, if you do meet somebody like that, of course, keep their, gather their information, maybe stay up all night and create a presentation. It's totally doable. And I'm going to show you at the end of this presentation why, because I'm going to give you access to exactly how to do this even with a PowerPoint included. So you won't have to do a lot of work, but it's better to be ready. All right. And the best way to be ready is to be an expert at whatever it is that you're going to be buying, have your team gathered, and have a presentation ready. So there's a 13-step presentation formula that I have seriously, I've built over the last 2 decades of investing in real estate. So there are some rules. Only present to qualified people. These are people that have answered questions, that they have enough down payment, they probably have good credit, they are somebody that you can be a partner with. Now, there's always an exception, right? Exception to the first rule is you can present to anybody that you want in order to practice. And you definitely should practice, because the more people you know that know what you're doing, then the increased chance there is for you to get a referral, because whoever you present to, they may not be a fit, but they may know somebody who's a fit, or a year from now, they may meet somebody that's a fit. So always keep that in mind, and actually practice is very important. So here's how you can approach that. You want to try to practice your presentation once it's complete to at least 30 people. And a lot of people, I think, I wonder if Allison's here. Not yet, but the reason why I ask is she said, oh, I don't feel comfortable asking people to see my presentation. And that's okay. Sometimes what can be helpful is a script. All right. And keep in mind, there are probably hundreds of at least 100 people that like you, maybe even love you and care about you. And most people want to help people. So I suggest that you try to reach out to at least 30 people. Say something like this. Hi, Mark, it's Julie. I have a big favor to ask. Again, people like to help people. As you may or may not know, I'm helping people grow their money in real estate deals. I know this is not likely a fit for you. And I got that from Dave DeBow. Okay. So just full credit there. I was wondering if I could practice my presentation with you. Would you mind? And I doubt anybody's going to mind. Maybe the odd person won't feel comfortable with that. Maybe the odd person just won't have time for you to do it. But why not ask? What's the worst? Somebody says no, big deal. All right, so you've got your avatar, you've got that figured out. You've got your type of property, the price range that you've figured out, and you know all your profit center details because that's in the deal analyzer that you're all going to get a copy of. So you know what you need in order to do the deal. And some real estate investors think you should find a deal and then find a partner. And I always think you should have a partner lined up, all queued up. And what can be frustrating for some people is like, well, I don't have a deal. Well, that's exactly why you find an avatar. That's why you still create a presentation around the ideal property that you want to work with somebody on. And that is because eventually you will find a deal and you want to have somebody, again, lined up. It's like camping. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So this was an example of a TFSA proposal that we did. I'm just going to give you some example slides on what I'm talking about. So step 2. So your step 1 was identifying your avatar. Step 2, in your presentation, you want to make sure that they have enough time because things can change between making an appointment and actually the appointment happening. Soccer practice happens, sick kid happens, unexpected appointment happens, something runs long, traffic, all kinds of things. So when you sit down to do your presentation, you want to make sure and double check and say, are you good for time? A great way to ask for that is we're scheduled for 45 minutes. Have your plans changed? Or your plans haven't changed, have they? Now, the reason why to ask this question, it's called a no question. And if you haven't already read the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, I highly recommend it. The way that I consume this book is, number one, frequently. I think I've listened to it 5 or 6 times. I'm sure I have, maybe more, probably more. And I listen to it on Audible. And a great communication tactic and negotiation tactic is to ask no questions. All right. So rather than, are we still good for time? Then you've got, yes, we're still good for time. You want to be asking a no question because in sales, people don't like to be sold to. They like to feel like they are in control. And one of the ways people feel more in control is by being able to say no. So if you ask a no question, like your plans haven't changed, have they? And they say, no, they haven't. Or they say, yeah, actually they have. I'm glad you asked because I can only do this for 15 minutes. You want to be dialed into how much time that they have, whether it's the same amount of time or less time. But most importantly, you want to ask about time to make sure. And you want to ask it in a specific way. And I don't want to go into too many details, but no questions are really important. So check out Chris Voss's book and we'll move on. All right. Step 3. Tell them what you're going to do. Give them an agenda, just like I did tonight. Gave you an agenda of the 3 things that we're going to be talking about. So give you an example from this presentation that I did. It was a while back. I'm going to talk to you, Mark, about 7 things. Our credentials, numbers on the deal, what I propose, how it's going to work, benefits, plus why I picked this specific area, potential drawbacks. And at the end of this conversation, I am going to ask you for a decision. And I want you to know that if it's not a fit, that's perfectly okay. But I will ask for a decision on whether or not we should move forward. And then if we decide together, that we are going to move forward, I just want to make sure and have enough time to go over our next steps together. So that's really, really important. Then people can kind of relax. Okay, I know it's coming. I know it's going to be happening now. All right, step 4, you want to talk about your team. So this is me and all the gobbledygoo that I just went over. For this presentation, I have a team member. His name is Robinson, and he is fantastic. Is there a question? Christine, is there a question? Do you want to put it in the Q&A? You have your hand raised. Is it broken? Is my presentation broken? I'm just checking this real quick. Okay, great. No problem. No problem. All right. So team member. And this is one of my team members, his details, all of his qualifications. This is my husband. He's always on my team. I talk about his background, and then more background on, what we've done together as a team. So that's what you want to talk about. Now, keep in mind, if you don't have, if this is your first deal, you want to make sure and have a strong team. You want to make sure and have like too many members on your team because you're new. And if you want to do a joint venture with somebody, then you want to make sure that they are well looked after. I'm not trying to plug myself as a coach, but I might as well say this because there are a lot of great coaches out there. It's a good reason to have a coach, because when you work with somebody, they get you, but they also get, hopefully the skills and the knowledge of your coach. All right. So make sure you talk about all the training that you've done, all the courses that you've done. If you've been if you've taken a lease option course and a rent to own course, kind of the same thing, raising money course, if you've been a member of a particular organization for a long time, like the OREIG group, like my group, or if you've taken an accounting program, you want to make sure and list your resume of training that you've taken the time to do. So this is Mike Wolf, one of my good friends, and he's got a whole coaching program. So, the more you do and the more help you have, the stronger the deal is going to be. All right. So step 5, you want to talk about the objective. Our objective in this case for this deal is our objective was to grow their tax-free money in a second mortgage. This is just the example. You want to talk about the details on the deal. So this again was a property in Peachland. We have the price. We got it for a little bit under market value, and talked about what financing's in there. Talked a little bit about what we're looking for, $80,000, and how much equity was still there. You want to tell people what the funds are going to be used for. Okay, so in this case, it was used for some holding costs and for plans to rezone the property. So, not everything, of course, you're going to do is going to be a land development. So it's a different version depending on the deal that you're doing. But this is just an example, and people love pictures. Okay, they love pictures. So we're going to rezone this land. It's going to be about $50,000 to rezone it, how much time we think it's going to take, and again, some nice visuals. Then some real aerials that are like taken from a plane so they can get a perspective of, hey, here's the lake. It's on a slope, so it's going to be like this gorgeous view that they already saw right there. So just, if it's a house, show nice pictures of the house. If you can, warn them if the pictures are a little rough, like if it's a rehab or something like that. These are the drawings that we used for what this property could potentially become. And then you want to talk about your team's track record. So again, if you're a novice or you don't have a strong track record yourself, that's where you really want to rely on your lawyer's experience, your realtor's experience, maybe your real estate investment coach's experience, or it's a good reason to bring other partners in that have strong experience. It's called leveraging other people's skill. So this is just a summary. All right, this is our experience. We've done all of these things. Bragging about ourselves, yes. Proposal based on the plan. We're going to apply for zoning. We're going to rezone it. We already know that there's an official city plan and that it meets all specifications, just more details on what's to come. And then another brief summary of the financial of what's going on with the added money to be borrowed. In this case, it was $80,000, spending $50 to rezone it, And as you can see, it was going to give it a significant lift of about $500,000 just from spending $50,000 on a rezone. And that is a good thing to do. So, and then here we just gave some evidence of what's going on nearby and why we think that it will be a profitable property. We go over you want to go over backup plans. That's, again, I talked about it at the beginning with your avatar. You want to make sure and identify something that can have the ultimate backup plan was like having a rental property on it. You want to talk about some benefits, okay? Like why this area? So if it's got good walkability, if it has lots of shopping, if it has good schools, if it's close to lots of amenities, you want to talk about that. You want to definitely know about the economy. A lot of people don't know much about their local economy. So if you're going to be investing in your local economy, you want to definitely learn about that. And a good place to go learn about that is through the economic development of your area. There's got to be somebody to talk to about that. So again, yeah, you definitely want to go over risks. You've got to go over risks and say, hey, listen, things can and do go sideways. This could happen. This could happen. This could happen. This is not a guarantee. There are risks involved because if you present it as no risk, then it's just a bad idea. It's just setting up expectations way too high. If you have your own money in the deal, you want to talk about that. You want to talk about how you have skin in the game. And then finally, step 9, you want to have a simple numbers summary, like very, very simple. You don't need a bunch of, I probably have too many numbers actually in this presentation. You may not need that many, but it is good. It's a good idea to explain, hey, this is what we're doing with the funds, and this is what it's going to mean once we do this with the funds. So in this case, we had TFSA, $80,000 partner, actually mortgager, but anyway, regardless, second mortgage partner at 10%, that's $8,000. Then the numbers are super simple. So in 12 months, your $80,000 is going to grow to $88,000. And it's really as simple as that. Step 10, you want to ask, okay, do you have any questions for me? This is where your time could be pretty variable because they may not have a lot of questions or they may have a laundry list of questions. And that's where you really have to watch your time. Because if it's nearing the end of the, let's call it 45 minutes and it's 3 minutes away and they're still asking a lot of questions, they have more to go over, you want to make sure and say, hey, listen, we only have 3 minutes left. I just want to make sure you're still good for time. And if so one of two things are going to happen. No, I'm fine. We're good. I don't have to be anywhere for another hour. But the other possibility is they're going to be really grateful to you. Oh my gosh, thank you for reminding me. I would have been late for this appointment. All right. So sometimes you have to pick up where you left off. And I find between 3 and 5 minutes, I want to be giving somebody a heads up because then I've got enough time to, okay, that just means we need to set another meeting. Let's take that time to do that right now. That way you're not playing phone tag back and forth. You want a clear next step. You want to know the next time that you're going to talk to somebody. Step 11. This goes back to my first real estate investment, my first sales training when I was trying to raise money. And I had met with this doctor, a dentist actually, his name was Cliff. And such a smart guy. We'd had 8 conversations and I didn't know how to ask for the sale, basically. So I knew I had to take sales training. So I signed up for sales training. Before I even took a class, I was going there for my 9th meeting. I had my hair curled. I had 2 little kids. So anybody with little kids knows how much work that can be. Shaved my legs, had a nice dress on, pantyhose that didn't have any holes in them. I was all suited up. And I'm about to walk into this next meeting and I didn't know what to do. I was like giving him all the information. So I called Colleen, who was my coach, And I said, I don't know what to do. And she said, this is what you want to do word for word. Once you want to ask, do you have any more questions? And if he says no, then you say, I really only have one question for you. And by the way, that's a really great way to segue. So when you're in the question part, you're saying, do you have any questions? All right, great. So maybe it's a bunch and they say, all right, any more questions? No? Well, I really only have one question for you, because the closing question, it can be a little bit abrupt. So you can just say, okay, well, thanks for all your questions. I hope you got them all answered. I really only have one question for you. All right. It's just a smooth way to set it up. Now, if you are presenting this presentation as practice, this is how you ask the closing question. If you could do this deal, is there any reason you would not want to move forward? And again, Chris Voss, never split the difference. This is a no question. So back to my meeting with Cliff, and it was a real question. I said to him, is there any reason you would not want to move forward with us? And Colleen said, shut up. Don't say anything else. You just sit there. And 20 seconds went by and it felt like 20 years, because I'm just sitting there. He's just sitting there, but I can see him thinking. He's just kind of looking off into the ceiling. And he says to me, well, I really should drive by them. And I'm thinking in my head, oh no, I'm going to have to curl my hair again. This is awful, but I didn't say anything. His next words were, but I can do that anytime. And if I'm concerned, then I will call you. And he wrote me a check for I asked for a check for $39,000. He wrote me a check for $37,000. And I almost took it and ran. But it didn't line up with the paperwork. It didn't line up with the paperwork. And I had to say, oh, Cliff, this is so great. I'm sorry, but this, it's $39,000. And I'm just thinking to myself, he's going to change his mind. This is over. I'm failing again. And no, he says, oh, silly me. He got up. He wrote me a new check. Everything was fine. I walked out of there with one check with as much money as I made as a physical therapist in a whole year, working 50 weeks a year, 40 hours a week. That's what I made after tax. So it was a pretty special day. Anyway, I digress. That's how you ask the real question when you're giving a real presentation. Now, and this is a presentation on an actual property, okay, that you have ready, like you want to make an offer on it, or maybe you've already made an offer on it. This is the avatar question. So this is when I've got my avatar built, I'm practicing, or maybe I'm, I've gone to networking events, which we're going to talk about, and I've got a prospect in front of me. If I came to you with a deal like this, is there any reason you would not want to move forward with us? Okay, so really 3 different scenarios to get, basically to get feedback. So that is how to put together a presentation. Of course, step 12, you want to make sure and say thank you no matter what, because they may say, all right, so let's go back. When you ask this question, is there any reason you would not want to move forward? It's going to be 1 or 2 things. Yes, there's a reason, because I don't like that area, or I don't like greenhouses, or I just, between last time I talked to you and now, I lost all my money at the casino. I don't know, all kinds of things. Things that there are going to be things that you can't control. Okay. Some people will just say, no, there's no reason. And then you're like, okay, great. Then you say, thank you. And you go on to the next steps. Now, if there is a reason that you cannot overcome, you just say, thank you. And there's really no reason to talk again. And that's perfectly fine, guys. You're going to get a lot of no's. It's cool. The other possibility though is, I'll give you an example. I was presenting to this guy named Chris. And this is a good reason to know your numbers. You want to know your numbers inside and out. And the question was, of course, because it always is there any reason you would not want to move forward? He had the money, he was ready, and he said, yeah, you're offering me 10% and I want to make 12. And I said, and I knew my deal well enough. Okay. I knew there was plenty of room in the deal. So I said, well, let's just say I can give you 12. Is there any other reason you would not want to move forward? And he said, no. And we did the deal. It was just, it cost me a little bit more. It happens. So all three of those scenarios can and do happen. And then with next steps, you just explain, okay, we're gonna have to do paperwork. We have to talk to lawyers. Then in this case, the money's gonna be placed as a second mortgage. Your money's gonna start growing. So let's make sure, again, you need a clear next step. Clear next step, don't let them just go. Let's set up a time to meet again. Make sure that you have that clear next step set up, okay? Because it is, phone tag is terrible. It's just terrible. Now, a workaround for this, if you can't sort it out when you're together, is create a booking link, all right? And you can create a free booking link. I forget the link name. I have a paid one, okay? But there are free booking links. Look it up, create a booking link, send that to the person so that they can schedule with you at their leisure. So again, yeah, just Google free booking links and you'll find something that will work fantastic. All right, now it seems backwards, doesn't it? First, you just want to figure out what you want to get. Then you have a presentation. But once you have this fantastic presentation, now you're ready. Now you're ready to find somebody that can move forward with you, whether it's an avatar or an actual deal, because both are absolutely needed. Thank you. That is the app. It's called Calendly. Christine, some days I just don't know what I do without you. It is called Calendly. It's a free app and it's absolutely fantastic. It will save you time and headache. All right, so now we're identifying prospects. You want to know exactly who is going to be a good fit for you. So at networking events, I strongly suggest that you think about these topics. Not necessarily in this order. In fact, usually you're asking about somebody's job if they're at a networking event. So you want to know about somebody's job. You want to ask, oh, how long have you been there? If somebody just started there and they just changed careers, they may not be qualified actually, because it's hard to get financing if you've recently changed careers. Like if you're like an electrician and then you decided to go into the financing industry. Banks like people that have been at their job for a long time. How do you like your job? Oh, that's great. Do you have good hours? What do you find most interesting about about your job? Asking about somebody's job then can lead pretty well into asking about hobbies. One of the reasons why I like to ask about hobbies, oh, what kind of hobbies do you like to do? Or do you do any sports or anything like that? I find that I can, people who golf tend to have more money. People who boat tend to have more money. People that have, have different interests, you want to also want to find commonalities, but sometimes people's hobbies can kind of be a tell as to whether or not they're more or less qualified to work with you. Asking about family. There are more and more, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but more and more people these days they're called dinks, dual income, no kids, and they've got lots of disposable money and time. And a lot of people want to be investing in real estate, but they aren't willing to sit at 6 o'clock PST on a Wednesday night and let somebody like me yap at them. Okay, so they need somebody like you. All right, so keep that in mind. But anyway, back to family. If people have a lot of little kids, that could mean they're in a different financial position. Sometimes people have kids in college and maybe they've got added overhead expenses. Maybe they don't have a lot of disposable income. It just depends, but it can give you some insight into somebody's background. Also, if somebody's married, then you want to keep that in mind because there's probably an additional decision maker, and that's a really important subject to go through. Asking about job, asking about hobbies. I like asking about whether or not people rent or own. If they rent, they might have more disposable income. They might have a bunch of money saved. If they own, I want to know how long they've lived there. And some people think it's like, well, it's kind of an awkward question to ask, right? So I'm really upfront about it. I'm a real estate investor and I'm always curious about housing. Whereabouts do you live? Like, what neighborhood do you live in? Oh, do you own or rent? Like, that's a great way to soften that question, because it's kind of a nosy question, but it's absolutely true. Any of you to use this line is true because you're all interested in really in housing and you're curious about real estate. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Oh yeah, back to housing. If somebody has owned their house for a long time and they've never refinanced it, then they could be sitting on a whole bunch of equity. And people, if they take equity out of their home to invest in real estate, then it can help. The interest that they pay on that investment can be a tax benefit. I'm not an accountant, by the way, so don't hold that against me. Talk to your accountant first. All right, again, back to this book. I just can't emphasize it enough. The questions that you want to ask in networking events about people, you want to ask how and what questions. So like, how long have you worked there? What kind of house do you live in? You know, or what's the neighborhood like? Oh, how long have your kids gone to school there? You want to ask, it's called open-ended questions, not yes or no questions, because people like to talk and they love to talk about themselves. And so you want to get to know them as well as possible. Now, when you're first networking, keep in mind, you're not going to remember things as well. The more you network and the better you get at these questions, it creates what's called synapses in your brain so that you remember things better over time. So at first, you leave one of these networking events and maybe you've got a bunch of maybe you've met like 3 people and you've got a bunch of information from them. Well, I suggest that you take a little break between people, go and write down some information that you can remember from the conversation, or get back to your car and do a voice memo or something like that, just to remember everything that you can with people. Because first of all, it's nice to remember information about people, and they appreciate it. So it's a great way to build rapport. So I also have a script for you for when you have an actual presentation. So when you interview somebody to see if they are a fit to show a presentation to, and it's right here. That's not it. I think I'm so clever. Can you see how much time do you have? That's not it. There it is. Just a wave, somebody raise their hand. Can you see how much time you have? Excellent. Thank you so much. Hi, Allison. I was just talking about you. Okay, so how much time do you have? And you write down how much time. When you've met somebody and you said, hey, do you think it might make sense for us to get together so we can see if we might be able to work together, right? And you want to be able to go over these things. So you want to ask about time. You want to do what's called an upfront contract. This is gold, okay? An upfront contract changed my life once I figured out what it was. because I was failing. I was embarrassing myself at networking events. I was chasing people out of the room. I was a stalker on the phone. I was leaving 20 voicemails and then seeing people later in public places and hiding from them in shame. So an upfront contract is, all right, we're going to sit down and I'm going to gather some information from you, right? But that's not what you say, but that's what's going to happen. So you ask about time, you make sure you write it down, you take a note, you check on your phone, you say, I'm going to check my phone because I want to make sure that I stay in time. Okay. And it's another good reason. It's a good reason to get a watch. So you're not checking your phone, because people don't love that. They don't love it when you check your watch either. But every time you check your watch or you check your phone, you just like, I just want to make sure we're still good for time. You just got to say that. Upfront contract. Okay, let's say it's 45 minutes. Over the next 45 minutes, you're going to have some questions for me about the property that I'm looking at and the deals that I do. And how I work with people. And I'm going to have some questions for you about your world, like your goals, your experience in real estate investment. We're going to need to discuss finances a bit. Is that okay? That is a fantastic question to ask, because some people at this point will say, I'm not willing to give you any information on my finances. And that's fine. You don't get that information. Maybe it's going to take a couple of coffees. Maybe it's not going to be a fit at all. That's okay. All right. Again, no's are okay. Somebody that's not a fit just means making room for somebody who is. All right. And either way, if they're not going to share any information with you, that's fine. You still say great. Okay. Most people will, because they're like, I'm curious. He's a real estate investor. I like to be investing in real estate. I hear you can do well at that. Right. So I'd like to know how you go about making a decision like this. And at the end of the conversation, we're going to decide what to do next. So, okay, is it okay if I start with my questions? And then I go into, and if I delay a little bit with questions, it's just because I'm taking notes. And definitely bring a notebook, or if you're doing this online, if you're looking down, make sure you know that you're taking notes. You're not on Twitter, right? Because you never know. So if we delay a bit, it just means I'm taking notes. I hope that's okay with you. Also, I'm going to email you a confidentiality agreement, because I want you to know that I will not share any of this information with anybody unless I, of course, ask you for your consent, which I don't know if I would ever need. So, and then you get into, are you working now? Tell me about your job. I'm not going to go into all the questions. Everybody's going to have free access to this. Okay. With what I'm about to give you folks for being here. All right. So I got to figure out how to get back to where I was. Here I am. Are we on script for interviewing prospects? If I could just get somebody to raise their hand, we should be. Thank you. Thank you. And current slide. Yay, I did it. I didn't have to go all the way back and scroll through. Okay, here we are. At the end, we've gone over identifying an avatar, your numbers. You want to become an absolute expert at whatever property you decide you're going to focus on. Create your presentation before you find a prospect, because you want to be ready in case you have a prospect who is ready. And then networking and practicing. You've got to do both. Both are so incredibly important. All right. So those are some suggestions on how you can become better and better at raising money. All right. So now Q&A. I don't have the sound enabled, so I would just like if you folks could put into the chat. Can we get a copy of your confidentiality agreement too, please? Yes. I'll send you a copy, but you can just write this down. I, Julie Hoffman, promise not to share any information that I gathered from Steve Cooper on August 28th at following location at approximate the time. That is an email. That is a binding agreement. That's a confidentiality agreement. I've never had anybody not be happy with that. I can write it down for you if you want. That's no problem too. Awesome. Any other questions? Let me see. Go ahead, just type into the chat. Thanks, Steve. All right, no questions? No questions. Test driving, okay. Are you all just eager to see your free gift? Some of you already have this. Did you get a letter of intent signed at any point? Oh yeah, well that's kind of past. This is about how to get going, get started. Now, if somebody is interested, sometimes I will do a letter of intent and sometimes I will not. But if they are ready to move forward, I will, I mostly don't. And let me tell you why. If somebody changes their mind, then I don't want to work with them. And that's okay, because again, there are 8 billion people in the planet, and sometimes people change their minds, and I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable or lose sleep at night. A lot of people recommend letters of intent and it works great for them. I mostly don't. I have, but again, if somebody's going to change their mind, then I need to be able to let them go. Now I don't remove, but like if I've got a deal under contract, I don't remove conditions until there's been approval and the money has changed hands. That is to a lawyer's trust account, and that there is a letter of understanding in place. Okay, so that's a little bit different. And I probably at some point will do a webinar on how to, the next steps and what can work and what can be, what doesn't work so well. That's a good question. Any other questions? Thank you, Christine. You're so nice. Okay, Steve, does your approach change for scale? For instance, if you're buying a 3 million multi versus a duplex? No. I mean, yeah, well, the obvious numbers do scale. For results, it's just that basically adding zeros. I hope that answers your question. My approach does not change because my team is my team. My experience is my experience. The deal is the deal. Whether it's a $500,000 condo or single family home or a multi-million-dollar purchase. Well, thank you. See you, Sterling. Have a good night. Say hi to Cheryl. Okay. If there are more questions, that's fine. I am going to give you, that's not it. All right, so I'm going to give you all access to my Raising Money for Real Estate course. And I want to show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to also look out for questions that come in. So I'm just doing this in the background, and I want to just kind of give you a tour of what the Raising Money for Real Estate course looks like, because I'm so excited. You guys get free access, and I sell this for like $1,000. And I hope you use it, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you have questions about it, you've got to let me know. And I'm just going to put access for it in the chat, but I'm going to show it to you first. So, oh, good. Is that it? Yeah. Can you see you're previewing in admin? Can I get a waving hand or something? Can you see, can you folks see this? You should see it. I'm gonna, yeah, because I've got the border around here. Okay. Session 1, creating your avatar. It's what we just, a lot of what we just went over, but there's a whole video tutorial. And in this course, you get a street smart analyzer for that I've used for Airbnb long-term hold as well as lease options. So it has some different options in there, but that's where you get the analyzer. Okay. Session 2 is creating your presentation. And so what comes with, and it's again, a full tutorial. And this is the actual presentation that you can use that goes through this, okay? And then on top of that, you don't see it. See if you don't see. You are previewing in admin mode. Do you see that now? No. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Does anybody else see it? Oh, I know why. How about now? You see it? Okay, excellent. There's all these buttons. Anyway, no, yes, no, Angie, Steve. I'm assuming you guys see it. Yes, I hate assuming. But Christine says it's 7:02. Oh boy, I'm running out of time. Okay, here it is. Motivated seller worksheet. That's just additional information that you want about the property. Okay. It's like a feature sheet. If you do that, if you do the motivated seller worksheet, which I did not really go over into detail with every property that you analyze, you will become even more of an expert because you'll be more and more familiar with style, square footage, bedrooms, basements, bathrooms, en suites, ages of roofs, lot size, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's just going to help you become a better and better expert. And this is a PowerPoint that you can take and just make it your own. So Steve just asked, do you change it for scale? No, you just change it for the deal. So you can download this PowerPoint, replace replace my stuff with your stuff and your numbers information, and it's very ready for you. It has really good bones. You don't want to change it up too much. You just want to replace, again, your information, your area information, the deal information, the numbers information, and you want to keep the rest. You want to make sure you still, follow the same agenda. So that's for you. And I tell you, folks, that has taken me 4 years, 20 years to create. And a lot of falling on my face. This is a recorded session of building a presentation with a coaching client. And it's really valuable because it's kind of like, it's a sample of what it's like to coach with me, but it also gives kind of the insight behind some of the modifications that you make as you go along. All right, I'm way over, I'm 4 minutes over time. When you have an investment opportunity, but let's get this question. Veronica, when you have investment opportunities that you are presenting to potential investors, do you stick to one kind of avatar, or are you suggesting that just for the newbies? All right, so if you have an investment opportunity, an actual investment opportunity, use it. Okay, you use an avatar so that you can practice and you can still prospect because you may not have found a deal yet. So practice, of course, is good, as you know. And if you present, if you've got your presentation ready and you're going out networking and you're finding qualified partners, then you want to present the avatar, because you basically say to them, I'm looking for a property like this. Here are all the details. Here's how experienced I am at it. Here are the numbers. If I found a deal like this, is there any reason you would not want to move forward on a deal like that? And then if somebody's like, no, we would totally do a deal like this. Well, now you can go shopping and put an offer on something. And you say to them, it might take me, I might have something for you tomorrow. I might have something for you. It may take a couple weeks, but if you've got your realtors on it, and you're looking for motivated sellers and you're out there trying to find deals, and you've got somebody in line, to do the deal, that's pretty magical. So whether you're a newbie or not, if you have an opportunity, go ahead and present it, but only to qualified people, or present it if you're practicing, because you're practicing your presentation. I hope that answers your question. This is a good question. All good questions. Okay, we need to wrap up. Thank you all for being here. I really, really appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun, and I need to put this link in the chat. Also, I know who's here, so I will be reaching out to you individually anyway, and you know, just kind of getting your feedback as well. So here is the link for the chat. I'm putting it in the chat. You want to stay here a minute? It's to everyone. This is to the course, okay? And then this, I do have the deal analyzer. I do have the Street Smart Analyzer in that course. This is a little more detailed version with a tutorial. Again, don't worry, I know who's here, who was here, so I'll definitely follow up with you and make sure that you have access to it. Copy and paste that over to a Word document quick before you go. But again, I'll take care of you. I'll find you. I'll find each and every one of you. You're welcome, Angie. Thank you for being here. There's no chat. There's still no chat. Okay. Hold on. Please hold. Q&A. Oh, golly. All right. I have to find a workaround here because it's not in the chat. Folks, I'll get these links to you. I promise. I can't put them in the chat you can't get them in the chat for some reason, and I'm not sure exactly why. So there's always a way. There's always a workaround. We will figure it out, and I will get this to each and every one of you. So thank you for being here, and we will see you next time. Oh, you got it. Okay, good. Okay, you're getting it. You're getting them. Great. Fantastic. You all are awesome. Anybody listening to the recording, just ask that you reach out to me if you want access to this information. All right. And we will go from there. So thanks again for being here, everybody. We'll see you soon.